Hello, I'm Barbara Grosh, President of the League of Women Voters of the Rochester metro area. The League is pleased to be a co-sponsor and contributor to these primary debates. The League is a nonpartisan political organization that does not support or oppose candidates or political parties. We encourage informed and active participation in government and believe informed voters are the backbone of our democracy. We're grateful to WROC-TV News 8 for presenting this program and remind viewers that voter registration for this election closes June 13th and early voting runs from June 13th to June 21st. Primary election day is June 23rd. For more information on the candidates who will be on your ballot, you can visit the League's online voter guide at vote411.org. At Vote411, you can find which candidates are running where you live and learn more about them. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. News 8 is your local election headquarters. I'm Adam Chodak. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. So tonight, the Democratic candidates for New York's 25th Congressional District race, they meet on stage right now, giving many voters a first look at how they differ on the issues ahead of that primary election day. That's next Tuesday. Incredible how time flies. The 25th Congressional District, by the way, for those who don't know, covers all of Monroe County, including the city of Rochester, plus a few other towns out there. We do have a live audience for today's debate. They have agreed to watch in silence throughout the next hour, but as you might imagine, there are a lot of enthusiastic folk out there, so if they would like to express their excitement, they can do so now. Okay. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for also partnering with us once again. This is our 5th primary debate of the season. We are on a roll. News 8 and the League agree that debates are essential for you, the voter, and for democracy as a whole. So with that, I want to thank the candidates tonight for not only participating in this debate, but also running for office as well. That in and of itself is a public service. I want to introduce to you the 3 Democratic candidates now for New York's 25th Congressional District. We have Congressman Joe Morelli, the incumbent in the race. We also have Robin Wilt, community organizer and former Brightontown board member, plus Sharita Trawick, a lawyer, pastor, and educator. We're going to start with opening statements. They pulled a number out of a hat, so to speak, to determine the order. We're going to begin with Congressman Morelli.
Good evening. I want to begin by thanking News 8 and the League of Women Voters for hosting this debate and giving us the opportunity to talk about the issues that matter most. I'd like to think all of us on this stage tonight agree on more than we disagree. We need to be united on our shared goal, defeating Donald Trump and stopping the assault on the American people. Throughout tonight's discussion, I look forward to highlighting the work I'm doing fighting to hold Donald Trump and his corrupt administration accountable, leading the charge to expose the widespread corruption, refusing to fund ICE and their cruel agenda, and defending our voting rights and protecting our elections. I'm focused on delivering results for families in our community, and I'll keep fighting back against Donald Trump and working every day to fix what's broken in Washington. I hope to earn your support to continue serving the community I love in Congress. Thank you.
Mr. Morelli, thank you. The next opening statement is from Robin Wilt.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Robin Wilt, and I'm running for Congress because as a longtime advocate for human rights, I'm changing the things I can no longer accept. I'm a mother, a public servant with 8 years tenure on the Brightontown board, a community organizer, and a fighter. I can no longer accept a 25th Congressional District where we uplift the corporations in our community at the expense of the people who labor for those corporations. I can no longer accept a status quo where wealth inequality runs rampant and our leaders are beholden to the moneyed interests of the few while they ignore the cries of the many. I can no longer accept that so many go without our basic needs being met: healthcare, housing, quality education, access to healthy foods in our communities, clean air, soil, and water, safety and security in our homes and neighborhoods. I can no longer accept leadership in our community that is unaccountable to the people it serves and is more interested in the appearance of doing something rather than actually performing the job of representing the people. I can no longer accept leadership that fails to use all the levers of authority to deliver the protection that people deserve. I hope to make that case tonight that we need a change in leadership who will meet this challenging moment in history.
Ms. Wilt, thank you so much. The final opening statement is going to come from Sharita Trawick.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to you, Adam, and the League of Women Voters for hosting this debate tonight. My name is Sharita Trawick, and I am a daughter of Rochester, and I am here today to stand and meet the moment that we are in. I am a pastor, a lawyer, a community advocate, an educator, and a mother of 3 beautiful children. And I entered this race because Washington is putting my children and our livelihoods in danger. We right now have a crisis where, as my grandfather would say, the rent is too darn high. We are being priced out of groceries, priced out of housing, priced out of electricity. We have an economy that is tanking because we don't have the jobs that we need to sustain it. We also have a public safety issue. We have ICE in our community running rampant. We also are dealing with inaccessible health care, shortage of health care workers. Our hospitals are overcrowded. We also are dealing with issues with homelessness and not being able to take care of the people that have taken care of us, and I mean our seniors and our veterans. So I am here tonight to make my case to earn your vote, to meet this moment and be your leader for the 25th District. Thank you.
Ms. Trawick, thank you. The first question is going to go to Congressman Joe Morelle. Mr. Morelle, Democrats and many Americans are clamoring for more documents on the Epstein files, from the Epstein files. And I've heard from Democrats who say, listen, President Biden was president in the White House for 4 years, and we didn't get what we wanted. If you were to get reelected, and let's say Democrats were to take control of Congress, what would change there?
Well, we're absolutely going to continue the efforts we've made, and we've had some successes. I mean, clearly not everything we want. There's been hundreds of thousands of documents released. There's millions more. Look, the truth is, Donald Trump, I think everyone in America recognizes this. There's a lot in there that he has gone to great lengths to stop from being revealed. And I think when history has its opportunity, and hopefully it'll be in the next couple of years, because we're going to continue to push on it as we have, they're going to realize that there's a reason that he has done everything he can to distract from it, to stop it. And I think many of us suspect we know what's in there. This is a tragedy. The victims who have been not given their day in court, people who have been suppressed, and the entire government, it seems, is working, from the Attorney General, now the new acting Attorney General, have done everything they can. But Democrats in the House have continued to push. I'm proud of my colleagues who continue to work on this. And we're going to get to the truth here. I promise you that.
Mr. Morelle's opponents here will have a minute each to respond. We're going to start with Ms. Wilt.
Thank you so much for the question, Adam. I think it's a travesty that we have not released all of the records related to the Epstein files. I think that one of the problems that we face is that the swamp needs to be drained, right? We have had Democrats in leadership that have failed to protect the victims of sexual abuse, yet they are not being held to account. We have had cover-up on both sides, unfortunately, but we need to make sure that the victims get justice, and we need to make sure that we release all of the files. A lot of the files, what we're seeing is that the people who are compromised by releasing those records are the ones in power. I've seen across the pond in Great Britain where those offenders are actually going to jail. On this side of the pond, what we're seeing is that people are resigning and not facing the justice that they deserve. So I think it's time that we actually made sure that the people responsible for the misdeeds that are being covered up in the Epstein files are held to account, and the victims receive their justice.
Ms. Wilt, thank you. Ms. Trawick, a minute.
I think what this speaks to is a larger issue about how we as a society devalue women. Women deserve to be heard. We need to believe women when they tell their stories and they say that they've been violated, women or men. And so in releasing these documents, what it would do is send a message to our generation and future generations that we will stand with you, that we will not allow these type of atrocities to continue to happen. We have done so much to push forward women's rights, and now to be holding up the the documents that would help these women to have some closure and bring justice is just wrong. And so women across the country, I encourage you, rise up, let's speak up. This is a message we need to send to our daughters, and more needs to be done in Washington, because when women come together and put pressure, things happen.
Ms. Trawick, thank you. And a note to the candidates, should you want to speak directly to the people, if you will, you can talk right into the camera that's right in front of you, lined up there. The next question is for Ms. Wilt. This question is from the League of Women Voters. There was a recent vote in the House about funding Ukraine, and the League is wondering, if you were in Congress this past session or this current session, how would you have voted on that and why?
I think that it is our obligation to stand by the people of Ukraine. It is a travesty that Russia has been allowed to run rampant over the Ukrainian people, and I would vote to support more spending in this war. I would also make sure that we grant temporary protection status, make sure that is extended beyond the current expiration date. It's not tenable when we are to send people back to a situation where they're going to be in harm's way.
Ms. Wilt, thank you. Ms. Trawick, 1 minute to respond.
So I do believe in supporting the people of the Ukraine. I do think that Russia is using its power to oppress them. However, I'm very concerned about what we have going on right here in American soil. So I would be very temperate in terms of looking at how much aid we're sending and our involvement. I do believe in helping those that are less fortunate, but I also am for taking care of what's happening right here at home. And we do have lots of issues, including our health care system, including making sure that jobs are back on American soil and families can afford to live, bringing down our costs, keeping our community safe, and making sure we have Social Security benefits for our seniors who are now being threatened by this administration.
Ms. Trawick, thank you. Mr. Morelli, your 1 minute response.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely disgraceful what Donald Trump has done relative to the people of Ukraine. I've met so many times with families here in Rochester who have family in Ukraine, some of them in the Donbass where there's been more fighting, many have family here in Kyiv. And I've worked on adoption for Ukrainian children that have come here. We've continued to talk about parole for Ukrainians who come to the United States. But the big picture is this, that if we're going to encourage democracy around the world, if we're going to continue to push back against totalitarian governments like the Russian Federation and Putin, if we're going to continue to be the shining city on the hill for democratic nations, we have to step up and be willing to do everything we can. I've continued to vote in support of Ukrainian arms, to continue to support NATO. This is critically important, and we have to continue to push the Trump administration, which has been a failure on this subject.
Mr. Morelli, thank you. Another question from the League of Women Voters. This one is directed at first to Ms. Trawick. I'm just going to read it straight up because I don't want to mess anything up here. So what is your plan to resolve the discrepancy between some migrant farm workers' lack of legal status and the need for their services by farmers in the 25th Congressional District?
Well, it's a great question because I started my legal career in working with immigrants, and our immigration system has been broken for a very long time. We need an immigration system that actually works. We do depend on immigrant labor. We need them here in this country, and we value them. And many of them, even in their it's not illegal, undocumented, make sure I say it right, status, they are paying taxes, and they are a part of our community, and they deserve our protection. So, number one, reforming our court system, making sure that people are getting court dates on time and not waiting months and years so that they fall out of some temporary protective status. Two, we need more civil surgeons to make sure that we can push forward so they can have the physicals and other things that they need to get their immigration status correct. And we need to bridle ICE. Having ICE out as a rogue police force when we don't even allow our own police department to go out and just snatch people out of their homes and do whatever they please. So this is what I would work to, these are the things I would work to do. Court reform, making sure that we have enough staff working on the cases, civil surgeons so that we have enough, and also bridling ICE, which means AKA get out of our community.
Ms. Trawick, thank you. Mr. Morelli, your response?
Well, I agree with Ms. Trawick. The system is broken, and the sad fact is Donald Trump wants to use it as a political issue instead of trying to solve this. As I often say to people, I know this will be shocking, the Morelli family didn't come over on the Mayflower. You know, America has been home to millions of immigrants who have made this country exceptional, and it's because we have brought people from all corners of the globe. So we have to fix this, and I work closely with the Bureau. I work with so many organizations that care deeply about the situation. I have fought against ICE funding for the Department of Homeland Security, continue to fight for reforms, and I have to say, one of the most heartbreaking experiences I had going out to Batavia and meeting with Omar Ramos Jimenez, who's been in detention for 6 months, this gentle, sweet man who simply wants to go home to his family, who has been an active part of his church, who's been someone who has worked, he has a work permit that goes until 2030, and all he wants to do is go home. But he doesn't mean Mexico, where they're trying to deport him to. So I'm going to continue to fight for him. I'm going to fight against detention cells being built at the federal building downtown, which are completely inappropriate. And we have to continue this fight until we have an immigration system we can all be proud of.
Mr. Morelli, thank you. Ms. Wilt, your 1-minute response?
You know, migrant farm workers are the backbone of our agricultural system, and we need to make sure that they are protected from the predations of this administration, specifically from ICE. I support abolishing ICE. ICE is a rogue agency that has only been in existence since 2003. What was there before? It was the Immigration and Naturalization Service. Service was in the name because this was the way to make sure that the legal process for immigration and naturalization was upheld in this country. The INS was situated under the Department of Justice, as opposed to now ICE being under the Department of Homeland Security, right? So we have changed the mindset from one of a legal process to a fairness, to make sure that people have the means to enter the country through that legal process, to one where all we're doing is enforcing. And that is to all of our detriment. I know that we have seen raids across the 19th Ward. We have seen raids across this community, all of Monroe and Ontario County. And it's time that we abolish this rogue agency, just like we did the INS in 2003.
May I just respond in this way? Changing the name isn't going to do anything. It's going after the Trump administration. It's going after Stephen Miller. It's going after the inhumane, demonizing way they treat people who come from around the world. And people come here for one simple reason. They want a better life for themselves. They want a better life for their children. And we need to make path to citizenship in the United States a reality. Simply changing the name isn't going to do it. We have to continue to fight every single day against Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, and those like them who want to demonize people who want to come to America.
Ms. Wilt, 30 seconds.
I think I made it very clear that we're not talking about changing a name. We are talking about changing a focus. ICE is a police organization. They are solely encompassed in deporting people, in rounding up people and sending them to detention centers. We need to make sure that the focus is on fairness, giving people a legal path to citizenship, a fair path to citizenship. And that is why I focused on the way we framed it in terms of service for immigration and naturalization, as opposed to enforcement.
Ms. Wilt, thank you. The next question is going to be directed towards Mr. Morelli. There is a very pro-Morelli flyer going around. The League of Women Voters sent this to me today, actually, and it's being paid for, from my understanding, my homework tells me at least, that it's being paid for by a pro-AI think tank, or PAC, I should say, not think tank. You have come out in support of regulation for AI in certain corners. There's this happening in the community, so I'm wondering how voters and perhaps many unions in the area, how far they can trust you to not back off if some from the tech community come to you and say, listen, we helped you out, can you back off some of this regulation?
Well, first and foremost, whatever I do as a member of Congress, as I did when I was in the state legislature, is about what I think is best for this community, what I think is best for the country. So, as you rightly point out, I have stepped and taken leadership around AI development that would harm young women who are being used in intimate images and pornographic films without their consent, without their knowledge, with their image being used. I have been one of the leaders on making sure we have disclosure when AI is used in political ads to make sure that the voter knows someone is using artificial intelligence. Why? Cause questions about that. I have worked very hard with the Library of Congress to curate data so it doesn't get in any way corrupted. Continue to work on making sure that people have ownership over their likeness and image. Look, AI can do amazing things. It's going to be used in healthcare. It's going to be used to help address poverty in this country. It's going to be useful in supply chains. But there's a dark side, and the need for regulation, which I have said loudly and clearly, I will continue to do. People want to support my campaign, and that's an independent expenditure that I don't have any control of and any association with. But I'm going to continue to do what I do, what's best for Rochester. And people want to support that. I appreciate that. If they don't, that's fine too. But I'm not going to change what I believe in.
Mr. Morelli, thank you. The 1 minute response first goes to Ms. Wilt and then Ms. Trawick, but 1 minute, Ms. Wilt.
I think that you can't regulate those with whom you're in bed. And that is the case in terms of super PACs, especially with the AI super PAC that is currently supporting Representative Morelli. There is a bill right now in his committee in Congress, the Stopping Illegal Campaign Coordination Act, which would actually make illegal coordination between these super PACs and candidates illegal by banning the practice of red boxing. And I have seen on Joe Morelli's campaign page a red box with instructions on how super PACs can engage in illegal coordination with his campaign. And I think it's beyond galling that he has allowed through not paying attention, not passing this bill, for this illegal coordination to continue, and he's engaged in the practice himself. People who, representatives who have red boxes on their campaign page, they are many times more likely to receive super PAC donations. So,
yeah, as well. Thank you, Ms. Trawick. Your 1 minute response.
I'll be responding to a different part of the answer. What I heard Congressman Morelli say is that he'll always do what he believes is best for this district. Well, that's part of the reason why I'm in the race, because most of the district is not happy in the fact that he's not engaging them, that he's doing what he thinks is best for the district. You have to get out and talk to the people. I would not be doing well, I would not be in the race if he were listening to the people and asking the people what it is that the people of the 25th want, not just during election season. You know, I've knocked on doors where people have said to me, you know, it pains me not to be able to vote for Mr. Morelli, or Joe as the community calls him, because he has not come around. We have not heard from him. We don't know what's going on in Washington. So my response to his response is, Congressman Morelli, please don't do what you think is best for the 25th District. Ask the people of the 25th District what they want and what they need. They are intelligent. They know what is important to them. And so if you go to Washington with that on your mind, you don't have people opposing you. But when you go with your own agenda of what you think is best, then you're going to always have people that are knocking at your door, such as myself, that's coming with the voice of the people.
Ms. Trawick, thank you.
I do want to respond.
Please.
First and foremost, I am the leader in the House on campaign finance reform. And if I'm elected and if the Democrats win the House back and I'm the chairman of the committee on House Administration that has responsibility for federal election law, I'm going to make major changes in January. We're preparing a bill right now that'll have the greatest finance reform in campaigns since Watergate, the greatest corruption reform, and going after the Trump administration. But putting the FEC, the Federal Elections Commission, which has no teeth right now, no cop on the beat, we're going to empower them. We're going to make sure there is no coordination between super PACs. We're going to limit the influence of billionaires in our politics. Elon Musk spent $240 million disclosed just 2 years ago for the presidential election for Donald Trump. I'm going to do that. I'm leading the charge on that as it relates to being in this community. I'm in this community every day I'm in Rochester, whether I'm over at the Urban League, ABC, Ibero, grassroots, small groups. I talk to people every single day, and I'll continue to do that. And I'll continue to do and use my judgment where I think it is representative of the people's needs in this community. I'm proud of that.
Mr. Morelli, thank you. That was about a minute. Ms. Wilt, you were raising your hand if you'd like some time.
Yeah, I just want to say that I would go one further. I would abolish super PACs. You know, again, there's a bill that is proposed right now that would effectively abolish super PACs by limiting the donations amounts that they could submit to campaigns or submit to $5,000. And that would effectively get rid of super PACs. And I wonder if Congressman Morelli is on board with that. I believe that Citizens United was wrongly decided. I think that Congress should be working to overturn Citizens United. And as far as Joe Morelli being out in the community, I have had the same experience as Ms. Trawick. I go door to door and people don't know who their representative in Congress is. I have been out in this community. I have been at umpteen different organizations, not just those that are receiving funding from federal and local and state sources, but actually grassroots organizations, and they don't know who their representative is.
Well, because she asked a question, I am going to support a considerable reduction of super PAC funding. And as it relates to Citizens United, I have the constitutional amendment which would end Citizens United. I work with the national group End Citizens United because that decision is one of the most horrific decisions around campaign finance the Supreme Court has made in the history of this country.
The next question is for Ms. Wilt. You ran for state assembly several years ago, and during that race you ended up backing out, saying you wanted to concentrate on some key issues while you were a town board member in Brighton. This did follow the discovery that your campaign manager at the time had served prison time for stealing from people with developmental disabilities. You were asked about that. You called the question absurd and said that many elected officials and associates have a criminal background or criminal history. The Democrats are spending a lot of time attacking President Trump right now because of his own felony conviction and the legal trouble of many of his associates. Perhaps that has changed your view on that. And with that in mind, I was wondering if you knew that your campaign manager at the time had stolen money from people with developmental disabilities.
You know, I knew that my campaign manager had served her time and her debt to society. And I think when we back legislation like the Clean Slate Act, that's what it looks like in practice. It means not hiring discriminatorily, not holding people's crimes against them when they have paid their debt to society. That's what I believe, and I think that's what the majority of Americans believe, that when you have served your debt to society, that slate is clean, and you should be allowed full re-entry into that society.
Did you know what she had served prison time for?
I did not know specifically, but I don't think that it matters, because regardless what she served prison time for, she had served her debt to society. And I would make the same decision knowing what she deserved her time for. You know, people make mistakes, and I believe in redemption, and I believe that if you have served your debt to society, you deserve full reentry, full stop.
Ms. Wilt, thank you. Ms. Trawick, a 1-minute response.
So I come from a family, you know, we're from the inner city, so I'm sure, you know, I've got an uncle that had a wrap sheet that probably could wrap around my body like toilet paper. You know, I come from, that's why I went into law, because, you know, many of the people in my family couldn't afford attorneys. You know, that's why our ministry started a re-entry program to give people a second chance. This was new information to me, what you just read, so, you know, I didn't know that. But at the end of the day, you know, I feel like people do deserve a second chance. You know, we know the criminal justice system is not always fair to folks, too. I have an uncle that served 33 years in prison for a crime that he did not commit, and when he got out, he took his life because he just couldn't function in society. So I want us to focus on the real issues. That's not going to help my people over at Zion Hill Apartments that are dealing with, you know, the fact that their SNAP benefits have been cut and their doctors are no longer taking, you know, Medicare, and that they're food insecure. This isn't helping our city school district where our students are struggling with illiteracy. Like, let's talk about the real issues. That's what I want to focus on.
All right, thank you, Ms. Trawick. Mr. Morelli, 1 minute response, please.
Yeah, when I think of corruption, I think of Donald Trump. That's what I'm focused on. That's what I care about. Using all of his powers to aid himself and his billionaire friends at the expense of everyday Americans. And you want to know why people are frustrated and people are angry at Washington? Because they see every day this corruption that goes on and on. Last week was reported Donald Trump made 3,700 stock trades during his presidency that he failed to acknowledge on time. He went in and bought Warner Brothers corporate bonds while they're in the middle of a merger talk that ended up going to one of his best friends, the head of Paramount, the Ellison family. And you know what? Donald Trump did it, even though that had to be approved by his FCC. So I'm going to introduce, and I'm going to pass in January, along with the electoral reforms, the greatest anti-corruption bill this country has ever seen. We're going to stop stock trading for members of Congress, for the president, for the vice president, for members of the Supreme Court. We're going to limit the term of Supreme Court members. We're going to put a code of ethics for members of the Supreme Court. There is so much to do to give people faith once again that the White House isn't ever going to be used again as a money-making venture by a grifter and someone who is more corrupt not than any other president, but more corrupt by all the other presidents combined.
Mr. Morelli, thank you. We do have to go to break, but real quick, to finish things off, Ms. Wilt, if you want to take 15 seconds here.
Well, again, I just wanted to say that the Think Big AI PAC, which has been sending out hundreds of thousands of dollars in mailers, is funded by Trump cronies. So, again, you can't be in bed with people who are committing the malfeasance and then pretend that you are going to enforce laws against them.
All right,
just to be clear, I'm not in bed with anyone, and that's an independent expenditure. It's being done. I've never had a conversation with a single person over there about what they're doing. And again, if people believe the work I'm doing and they want to invest in it or they want to help, that's fine. But let's not make accusations that simply aren't true.
All right, thank you both so much, and thank you to Ms. Trawick for her answer as well. We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, the first question is going to be directed to Ms. Trawick. Stick around. We'll see you around the corner. Welcome back, everyone, to our primary debate for New York's 25th Congressional District race. We have the Democrats on hand. We have 3 candidates in this race, and all of them agreed to participate in this debate that we're hosting in conjunction with the League of Women Voters. The next question goes to Sharita Trawick. You ran for state senate in 2020. In the primary race, you ran against Jeremy Cooney and you lost. This is a big race. If you win this primary, you'll go up in the general election, and it's going to be a tough one. What do you think, or why do you think voters should be confident that you can win in that big of a race when you lost in the primary race for a state senate seat?
Absolutely, the same question that I've asked myself. But I think that we need a candidate that can meet the moment. So the state senate race was the state senate race. It was great practice, great learning. But right now, we are up against a regime that we've never seen before. We have a president and an administration that does not care about everyday working people. I was fine at home, with my family, doing my legal work, serving and leading in my community. This race came knocking at my door because we are a working family. My children, I have a 5-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 21-year-old. And so when my 16-year-old started asking questions about should she be concerned about ICE coming to her school and dragging her friends out, when we started to look at our budget and not know whether or not we were going to be able to feed our children, when housing costs and gas prices started to rise and I heard nothing from Washington, I looked for our congressman. All I wanted was marching orders. How does the 25th, how does Monroe County meet these challenges? And I heard nothing. And so in that silence, I decided, you know what, you've learned something. You've sat at tables, you've worked, you've served 6 years in a school district with a $250 million budget. Anytime that there are issues in the community, you're sitting at the table, whether it's with the police or faith leaders or families who've lost their children to violence. It's time for you to put all of that stuff together and put your money where your mouth is, Ms. Trawick. So I do believe that I can listen to the people of this district, represent the people of this district, and come home with wins. I will not come home saying that they did not want to work with us. They're going to work with us because we are New York strong, and we're not taking no for an answer.
Ms. Trawick, thank you. Mr. Morelli, 1 minute response, please.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I welcome everyone to participate. I often talk about Benjamin Franklin coming out of the Constitutional Convention in 1787 and being asked, what have you given us, a monarchy or a republic? And he said, a republic, if you can keep it. So the only way we keep it is for people participating in all walks. And you don't have to run for office necessarily, but I tell everyone we all have agency. In the greatest encroachment on our citizens in a century and a half by a president who cares little about the citizens, who said, I don't really think about people's welfare. So I welcome everybody to participate, whatever way you can. But our elections are in trouble, and the ability of people to run are in trouble, which is why I now lead the election security efforts for the House Democrats. I've gone around this country making sure that Donald Trump doesn't upset the midterm elections. He's tried to change registration. He's tried to end mail-in balloting. He's talked about the National Guard being called out. All of that is work that I'm doing every single day to make sure that everybody has a chance to participate in this democracy.
Mr. Morelli, thank you. Ms. Wilt, 1 minute response, please.
Yeah, I think that I agree with Ms. Trawick on this one. We need leadership that is going to meet this moment of history. We need somebody who is actually going to stand up to the predations of this administration, somebody who's going to protect us from ICE, not vote to fund ICE to the extent that it's been funded, and vote to thank ICE when it's running rampaging through our communities. We need somebody who is going to make sure that we have universal health care, housing accessibility. We need to make sure that we have somebody who is going to focus on educational equity, somebody who's going to make sure that we're not engaged in endless war, not somebody who is going to be propped up by the war machine. And again, we need somebody who has the integrity to lead. And that's why I'm running in this race, and that's why I'm challenging Joe Morelli, because I think it's time that we had leadership that this community deserves, somebody who is actually going to focus on the people and their needs as opposed to the corporations.
Ms. Wilt, thank you. Real quick, I'm sorry, Mr. Morelli. Mr. Trawick hit the buzzer, I think, before we'll come back to you. But I saw the hand go up. Ms. Trawick, I think you wanted 30 seconds.
So just as a rebuttal, it is important that people, know that they have agency, but what does that look like? People need specific entry points. Right now, we have a lot of people in our community that are not registered to vote, that are saying they will not vote. I have 2 high-rise apartments where folks can't even get to the polls. There are community organizations that are out there that are meant to help people get to the polls, but some of them can't help because it's a primary and they don't get involved in primaries. Right. So we need to know, what does that agency look like? What are those entry points for people to be able to participate in this system? Because it's not just Donald Trump. We have a fire here at home.
All right, Ms. Trawick and Mr. Morelli.
No, I just want to say, for people who want to replace Joe Morelli, they ought to get his record right, which is I have voted consistently against ICE funding. I voted against funding for the Department of Homeland Security. I have spoken out repeatedly, both here and in Washington, for the reforms to ICE that all Americans want, and watched with horror what ICE has done around this country. So I just make sure that you represent my record properly when you're having an argument about who ought to represent this community.
Ms. Wilt, 30 seconds.
Joe Morelli voted for the Lincoln-Riley Act, which set all of what is happening with ICE in progress. That was a bill that criminalized immigration, that cast immigrants as criminals, and Joe Morelli voted for it. And so now to stand up here and tell the people that he has been fighting against ICE, it's laughable. It's laughable because he has voted for bills to fund ICE. In fact, he just voted for the Combating Organized Retail Crime Act, which would expand ICE's surveillance authority Even if you haven't committed a crime, this would allow retailers to cooperate with the Department of Homeland Security, share your personal information, and Joe Morelli voted for that.
First of all, that is completely wrong. I am strongly opposed to retail crime. I think everybody in this community is. We've seen what has happened to retailers, places in Irondequoit, places all over this community where people have stolen. So this is an effort to create coordination between law enforcement agencies, and it was supported broadly by Democrats and Republicans. It passed with over 2/3 of the vote from the House. So it's something I do support. I am not someone who thinks it's okay for us to stand idly by while local grocery stores and local businesses are attacked and stolen from. I'm just going to continue to do it. And the way that that was described is so completely removed from what the provisions of the bill actually are.
I want to talk about affordability here, and this is directed to, if you want to take a little time after this, you're more than welcome, Ms. Wilt or Ms. Trawick. Mr. Morelli, affordability is a huge issue right now. You've got people struggling to pay their bills. A lot of Democrats also support environmentally friendly regulation to combat climate change. There are some, even within the party, that wonder if those two oppose each other right now. You look at the EV mandate for school buses in New York State. Long term, you might make the argument, sure, it's going to save money. But right now, people want their utility bills to go down. How do you blend, how do you mesh those two desires within the party?
Well, look, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. We're going to have to continue because, frankly, it's an existential threat. The climate crisis is real. Donald Trump and his Republican friends can deny it all they want, but there's data that has now been decades old. So we have to continue, as I did when I voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, and we put in the infrastructure bill that put trillions of dollars into renewable energy. And I'm going to continue to fight for those things. Donald Trump and his folks have taken a lot of that funding back. So we can add to the grid. We can create more reliable energy. We can create lower cost energy. That will help us in our efforts to build more housing. That will help us in our efforts to lower the costs of goods in this country, lower the cost of production, because our economy still is heavily reliant on fossil fuels to fund our industrial efforts. So these are not exclusive. We have to work on both. We have to continue to be aggressive on both, and I will continue to fund projects, to vote for funding for projects, and to speak out as clearly as I can that this is an urgency, this is an existential threat to the planet.
Mr. Morelli, thank you. Ms. Wilt, 1 minute.
The climate crisis is an existential threat, and supporting the climate and resilience is not mutually exclusive with affordability. That's why the first plank of the Green New Deal was for housing, because if we increase the sustainability measures built into housing, we will save people real money. And I think it's integral that it's very important that we make sure that in order for people to have affordability, we are engaged in getting off fossil fuels. We've seen the price of gas go up astronomically because of this war. We've seen that the price of LEDs is less than paying for other forms of lighting. So we need to make sure that we are investing in climate, like the IRA, like the IJAA. All of these bills that funded climate resilience and sustainability, we need to make sure that we continue to fund that.
Ms. Wilt, thank you. Ms. Trawick, a 1-minute response.
So here's what I'm in support of. Number one, we need to have the study done about a public utility. We need to find out if RG&E is really our best option. That's number one. Number two, when the EV bus mandate came out, I was a member of the school board, all districts and Monroe County School Boards Associations. We got together and we said we cannot make this mandate, unfunded mandate from the state. RG&E said our grid won't even support it, but yet it still was a mandate. We need to bring stakeholders to the table that are actually boots on the ground, that are dealing with these issues day by day, not just continuing to fund projects that will push this work forward. What does the work look like? What is the work? And as the highest ranking member of our party, we are looking to you, whoever that may be, I raise my hand, I'm volunteering to bring those stakeholders to the table and say, okay, we need to expand the grid. We need to identify if this is the best utility for us to save people money. We need real solutions, not just continuing to throw money at projects. And we have a bus driver shortage as well, so that's a whole nother issue, but they're all intertangled. They all go together. But if you're not having the conversations and you're leaving it to the leaders in this community alone, the conversation's not happening, the work's not being done. So it's time to come home from Washington and get the people at the table and say, let's come up with some real results that I can go back and fight for money for.
Ms. Trawick, thank you so much. Ms. Wilt, this question is for you. This is a Democratic primary, so yeah. I'm asking questions that I think Democrats would want to know. If you were to be elected to Congress, would you try to impeach Donald Trump?
Absolutely. I've been endorsed by the Citizens Impeachment Courage campaign. And what that means is that on day one, I would bring articles of impeachment against this administration because this administration has been lawless. They have broken the law. I've heard, Joe say that maybe we shouldn't, this is not the moment in history, maybe we should wait until we have a majority in the House. Well, that does not change the fact that this administration has broken the law. So do your job. Bring the articles of impeachment. I don't care what the Senate does. The Senate can choose to ratify or not, but we need to make sure that we're doing our job in the House of Representatives. And if there is law breaking, we need to bring articles of impeachment. And I have pledged to do that on day one.
Ms. Wilt, thank you. Ms. Trawick, your 1-minute response, please.
So that's not what I would be doing on day one. But I would vote in favor of impeaching the president. What I'd be doing on day one is taking the concerns that I have heard from many people that I've knocked on their doors, and they are concerned about whether or not they're going to have health care, whether or not they can afford their groceries, getting us out of this war so we can lower our gas prices, and making sure that we're bringing jobs back to this market. We lost 600 private sector jobs this year, no matter what our unemployment rate says. We need more jobs in manufacturing. We need more apprenticeship programs. We need people to, we need our homeless to be housed. How are we building all this housing and you drive down the street and people are still unhoused? We have real problems here. We need small businesses with investments. I've met with town supervisors. They need things like they're trying to get water districts in their areas. They're trying to find out about grant funding. They're applying for grants. They're not getting the federal grants. They don't know why the grants aren't coming. There's no transparency from Washington. They need communication. Our towns, our cities need real leadership, transparency from their congressional representative to help them be able to help the people in our communities. That's my job on day one.
Ms. Trawick, thank you. Mr. Morelli, 1-minute response.
Well, first, I think we ought to focus on affordability on day one, health care on day one, and rooting out the corruption of this administration. Say that. I brought home, just from Ms. Trawick's information, $400 million in the last several years. I've worked very closely with the county executive, town supervisors, the mayor of the city of Rochester to deliver on projects that are important to this community. And I do it literally every day. I was at 2 different events this weekend, funding that I brought home from Maplewood Public Library in the city's northwest and out in Greece for the recreation department. So I'm doing that every day. Here's what I'd say about impeachment. I'm the only person here who's impeached the president twice, both as a member of the Rules Committee, where we went through the process of impeaching Donald Trump. So anybody who thinks I'm afraid of impeaching Donald Trump, I'm not. And I've said publicly, he ought to be removed. He is unfit for office. He is, in my view, the most corrupt, unfit person to ever sit in the Oval Office. And I will continue to fight to have him removed. But there are a lot of other things that need to be done on day one, and that's what I'm going to focus on.
Mr. Morelli, thank you. 30 seconds. Ms. Wilt.
Well, luckily, I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think that we can impeach on day one, and we can still implement the Congressional Progressive Caucus's new affordability agenda on day one. And that is a suite of 10 bills that would address all of the affordability measures that would keep money in people's pockets, like housing. It would address RG&E, for instance. It would regulate for-profit utility companies that, like RG&E, that right now charge money back to their ratepayers for lobbying. They charge money back to their ratepayers for corporate perks. They can charge money back to their ratepayers for fines for not doing their job. This is part of this new suite of bills, and I think that on day one, we implement the new affordability agenda.
All right, Ms. Wilt, thank you. I want to make sure that we have time for closing. So even though I would love to continue at the Q&A portion of the debate, I want to give you time to give the last word, if you will. So with that, we're going to have closing statements. We're going to start in the same order that we've had throughout the last hour, starting with Congressman Morelli.
Thank you again to News 8 and the League of Women Voters for hosting this debate. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in and being active participants in our democracy. As America prepares the next couple of weeks to celebrate its 250th birthday, I've been reflecting on how this nation was founded on a simple but powerful idea: government of, by, and for the people. But too often, Washington only works for special interests, powerful insiders, and politicians who put themselves first, which is why I'm leading the fight to clean up Washington, banning stock trading by members of Congress and the President, establishing term limits for the Supreme Court justices, and holding Donald Trump accountable for his corruption and abuse of power. Because at the end of the day, government is about serving the people, not the powerful. It's been a privilege to represent you in Congress, and I hope to earn your vote to continue serving this wonderful community. Thank you.
Mr. Morelli, thank you. Ms. Wilt, your closing remarks.
Thank you. Thank you to the candidates for engaging in this forum with me, and thanks to everybody watching. We are living in fraught times. Affordability is ever increasingly a concern for people in our communities. Our friends, neighbors, and family members are being snatched off the streets and put in detention centers with abhorrent conditions. Our nation is engaged in a war for the benefit of profiteers and vanity. In this moment, we need leadership that will fight against the predations of this administration with all of the legislative, the investigatory, and the budgetary tools at our disposal. We can't afford to keep doing politics as usual. As an advocate who has always fought for the dignity and rights of the people in our community, I hope that you will support me so that I can take that fight to Congress on your behalf. On day one, I pledge to file articles of impeachment against this administration. I pledge to fight big money in politics, not climb into bed with it. I pledge to sign onto all of the bills of the new affordability agenda to immediately address the cost crisis our communities are facing with regard to housing, healthcare, utilities, groceries, childcare, and gas prices. Please consider voting Robin Wilt, because I will always be the public servant who is fighting for all of us.
Ms. Wilt, thank you. 1 minute goes to Ms. Trawick. You have the final word.
Thank you so much. Well, first, I'd like to say thank you to those that are here with me on the stage. I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Morelli. Thank you for your service. Thank you to Ms. Wilt. Thank you for being a part of this debate. I was at a town meeting in Parma a few weeks ago, and I was asked, if you were elected, is there a member of Congress that you would model your administration after? And immediately, Louise Slaughter came to mind. And the reason I say Louise Slaughter is because I grew up with a congresswoman that knew her community, knew the district, was accessible, and was a fighter. She didn't take no for an answer, and she didn't back down from anyone. And so in that spirit, no, I am not Louise Slaughter. I am a daughter from another mother and another generation. But I promise to represent this community, to listen door to door, to continue to come back, whether it's good news, bad news, and let you know what is really going on in Washington, and to lead the charge around local issues, whether that's bringing stakeholders to the table, whether that's, being a thought partner with our elected leaders to help them move to solutions. We need leadership in this moment, and we need a moral compass to care about one another the way we used to take care of each other. That's what I bring to the table. So please consider voting Sharita Trawick for Congress.
Ms. Trawick, thank you. You mentioned Louise Slaughter. She participated in the first congressional debate I ever hosted. It was between her and Marcassini. It was an honor to be a part of that debate, just like it's been an honor to be a part of this one. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I think it serves you out there, the voters. They are the Democrats running for the 25th Congressional District seat. News 8 continues to be your local election headquarters. Of course, we want to thank the League of Women Voters for once again partnering with us. You can watch all 5 primary debates that we produced here at News 8 in conjunction with the League on RochesterFirst.com. With that, I want to thank you, the viewer, for joining us for this hour. I can't forget our folks in the gallery. They have been wonderful. So right now, I want to give them the opportunity once again to show their enthusiasm. All right. So with that, I want to let you know that primary day once again is Tuesday. If you can vote, don't forget to vote. Have a great night.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.